with WWE criticized regarding their upcoming pay-per-view in Saudi Arabia and more. This is Wrestling Hub. My name is John and you're watching the Wrestling Report for February 13th. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Talking about AEW's growth since their inception, Rob Van Dam will tell Sportskeeda, pretty cool, they're groundbreaking. When they first came out, they just stood as good a chance as everybody else in my mind because even though I had heard they had a lot of money, this guy owns the Jacksonville Jaguars, even with all that, that wasn't anything new. Happens all the time. Every once in a while, somebody comes up and they think they're going to be the next big thing and usually they have one show, if that, and then they're done. AEW started and I thought they were just going to be another one of those companies, and they certainly weren't. It's amazing that they draw as many fans as they do, and that's on TV and in person. The crowds are so much bigger than Impact Wrestling or a lot of the independents outside of WWE, so they've stepped up and they really are the next big thing. RVD would also explain why he feels MJF was the best heel of 2021. I think MJF really has the fans' attention. He's super committed from what I understand. He was at a comic convention of some kind and on his own without the production crew behind him or anything. He walked into a room full of black people, but they had a black person on stage and he said, "Does anybody have any questions on Black Lives Matter?" Like, what a heel. He's just committed. He doesn't laugh at himself or break character that I know. With WWE looking to make their way to Saudi Arabia for Elimination Chamber, Sonya Deville, who is openly lesbian, will be there where homosexuality is punishable by death. Dave Meltzer talked about this on Wrestling Observer Radio, saying Sonya Deville's going to Saudi Arabia. She goes from the GLAAD meeting to go to a country where, such a thing, being gay, is not only illegal, but you can be killed for it. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. You can. Believe me, I'm not blaming her. It's her job. There are people there like John Cena and even Kevin Owens, Bryan Danielson, who can go and say, "Look, I'm not going," and they're going to be fine with it. I don't know that Sonya Deville fits in that category. It's not weird to me because it's wrestling and everything, but if you think about it in real life, the whole thing is so weird. WWE is trying to talk about how they're changing the world and everything because they're going to have women's matches. That's a big thing. They had everyone tweet about it and everything like that. They had their little catchphrase that they told everyone to tweet. Speaking about Ronda Rousey's return to WWE, Lita told Instinct Culture that she is a mega attraction for the company. She feels big. To see Ronda out there, she brings pop culture. Larger than just WWE because of her huge success in UFC and boundaries she broke in UFC kind of becomes those two industries into one mega attraction, and you feel that with her presence. En route to facing the SmackDown Women's Champion at WrestleMania, Rousey and Naomi will be taking on Charlotte and Sonya Deville in a tag team match at Elimination Chamber. With New Japan star Jay White making his shocking debut on Dynamite, Conan would note on Keeping It 100 that I thought Jay White was underwhelming. And I always think that, I brought this up yesterday to Disco. I do not think there is anything wrong with catering to your fans because those are your hardcore fans and you sponsor Goodwill. But I think Tony Khan over caters to them. Of course, White is expected to make more appearances for AEW, as we'll have to see what's next for Switchblade. Prior to making his way to AEW, Miro spent a good portion of his career as Rusev in WWE. Early on, he would be under a developmental deal, which he told Kurt Angle was not making him very much money. My ACL was completely torn, but my meniscus was flipped one on top of the other. It was a really bad situation. It was a big mess, but we fixed it. Once again, if it wasn't for the opportunity to get into WWE, it wouldn't have been fixed. There's no way I can get $10,000 or $20,000 to fix my ACL at home because I had no money. No health insurance, clearly. WWE at the time, they were paying me $500 a week or $600 a week. So I'm already struggling there. I was making more money driving taxi and delivering food in California. And then they say, "Hey guys, we gotta get insurance," which is $100 a month. When holy smokes, how am I supposed to pull that money from now? For last week's Dynamite, FTR would take on CM Punk and Jon Moxley in an incredible match. One person many consider a harsh critic for AEW would even have praise for Moxley's wrestling abilities in this match, as Jim Cornette took to his podcast to note that this is most definitely one of Moxley's best matches he has ever had, because they were not fighting on the floor. He was actually wrestling for a change. They gave him time so that they could do what they need to do without rushing through it, and there was no trampling business going on. These guys, except for Moxley, are all the top guys, and some of the best in the world at what they do. I'm giving constructive criticism. When it comes to the ECW One Night Stand pay-per-view from 2005, former ECW ring announcer Steven DeAngelis would reveal an alternate ending to the event that was in the script but would not take place. Telling the Insider's Edge podcast, the original script for ECW One Night Stand actually ended in the script. They didn't do it that way. They changed it. It was Paul and Vince backstage, and Vince saying, "Gee, Paul, maybe ECW's not dead after all." As you know, they didn't end it that way. But that was my first hint that maybe there would be something else moving on. It took a year later for them to do it, but it was like a hint of maybe promise or something, or maybe they were just going to bring some ECW guys in and they wanted to acknowledge it on some level, but that was in the script. Following a release from WWE in November, fans are wondering when Mia Yim will return to in-ring competition, as she recently took to Twitter to give an update, writing, "To those wondering why I'm not back in the ring yet, February is a busy month. With the wedding and the move, I decided to not take any bookings until March to focus on getting everything handled at home first. So don't worry, I'll see you all in the ring in March." WWE filmed a segment for SmackDown involving Charlotte, Ronda Rousey, Naomi, and Sonya Deville. This would lead to Ronda attempting to slam Charlotte's head onto the table, but it appears Flair either forgot to drop her head or just went stiff. Now, WWE will edit this contract signing segment according to the Wrestling Observer. This would also cause many to react. What a maneuver. Charlotte sandbags a lot to make the other girls look bad. They're going to have to bring in Steven Spielberg to fix this one before this airs next week. Forget Suplex City. That's Botch City, USA. My beat is going to be their use of camera shots. Whenever a shot abruptly goes to another camera, I know a botch happened, like when Becky literally fell on her ass in her live promo. On the Wrestling for the Faith podcast, former WWE star Jaxson Ryker touched on his previous Facebook post regarding Black Lives Matter in 2019, which said, "Pretty touchy subject, but all this Black Lives Matter garbage baffles me. I challenge anyone of any color or race to go watch 12 Years a Slave, the movie, and realize how good you all actually have it. Learn heritage. Christ, Gandhi, Buddha, they all taught love and caring for others. This is getting out of hand. I pray for this nation daily." Ryker would then elaborate, saying, "It's all anti-biblical things that we look at where God made man, God made a woman to unite together, to man being the head of the house, and you have spoken about this, and that doesn't mean we're a forceful, mean presence in the family. We're loving like Christ, we love our bride like Christ loves the church, basically. If you read all of that, it's all anti-biblical stuff. It's taking the fathers away. It's transgender stuff. And look, guys, as you're listening to this, we're approaching this with love. As we always do any subject, we're not pointing fingers. We're not saying, oh, this, that. What we're saying is this is where we're standing on biblical truth when it comes to these things. And these organizations, I'll say this, that Facebook post could have been worded completely differently, on my behalf. Now, the movie 12 Years a Slave, if you haven't seen it, I believe it was filmed in 2013, an incredible movie about a free black man who was basically kidnapped, put into slavery for 12 years, beaten. I mean, just dude, the movie made me cry because look, racism is real. It happens this day and time. I mean, it's real. Like, we have things that we can do to prevent this. So my meaning behind that was the things that these slaves went through. You can hear some people in today's America talking about, oh, this is Nazi America, or this is slavery, and no, we have to open our eyes and realize that was true slavery. Is there racism? Yeah, there's racism between black, white, black, Chinese, whatever. It's real. It's legit, and what I would definitely word differently is my Buddha thing. I don't want to sit here and say, oh, I believe we should all coexist. No, ultimately Christ is the peacemaker. He is the truth, the life, the way. So I would take Buddha out, I'd take all these other quote-unquote religions out, and I would say that Christ stands for loving your brother, uniting with your brothers, matters whether you know, no matter what color or anything. So that's really what the Facebook post was about. So I can clear the air on that and say that I don't believe I said anything wrong. The BLM garbage to me, what they stand for, basically a terrorist group. It's garbage to me. I want to say Dr. Brown touched on this one time, and I don't know the numbers, and I can look these up and we can tweet this out when it happens. But the BLM movement supports, you're talking about black lives here, right? If you look at the number of the African American black baby that is aborted per year, it is unbelievable. And this group supports abortion. They support the murder of unborn children. So there tells you something. Ryker would then respond to those saying he's racist. First of all, I'll throw this out there, I have a mixed half sister, okay? As a boy from the age of I guess 5 to probably 7 or 8, I literally lived in basically an all black neighborhood. Some of my best friends in high school, blacks. You know, I've never once been the guy who on social media threw out an N-bomb or even say that word. You know what I mean? Some people's going to hear this and they don't even care. It's not going to matter. But to someone who's listening, they're going to be like, oh, like their eyes are going to be open. On a weekly basis, I get a chance to link up with some teen boys at North Carolina boys home who are black, whites, all together. If I was this big crazy racist, I wouldn't be any part of that. You know what I mean? On Twitter, Luis Dangor would point out that if Roman Reigns is able to defeat Goldberg, he will have beaten every person to hold the Universal title in his current reign. This caused Bray Wyatt to respond, asking for his name to be taken off that list. Seth Rollins would also respond, saying this was fake news. While WWE Creative has been criticized due to incoherent stories and reports of scripts being torn up the day of the show, Vince McMahon apparently sees no problem with this. PW Insider would report that in his mind he doesn't think anything is wrong. We are told he pushes and presents what he likes and wants, and nothing else makes a dent in that vision. That's why the shows are presented the way they are, and that's why nothing is going to change anytime soon, if ever. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.